Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Am I already logged in? But
No, you're good.
I spoke with
All right, we're gonna get started. Welcome, everyone, to the March 7th Board of Adjustments meeting. It's 5:30, 2023. This meeting is being recorded. Is Stephanie call roll?
Chair Edgeline,
Here.
Byron Staley,
Present.
Bert Fetterman. Andy Shirtliff
Here.
and Michael Newhouse. Oh, I'm sorry. Vice Chair Tholt.
Here.
Thank you.
We have 5 members present, so we have a quorum tonight. Would the staff introduce themselves, please?
Michael Alvarez. I'm a planner with the Community Development Department.
And the applicant, we only have one public hearing tonight. Are they present?
Arlene Museum, the project lead for the Bell Hotel development.
Good. Okay, before we begin, I'm gonna let the board know and people present and online that I am married to one of the principals of the architecture firm that designed the project. I have no invested interest in this project, but just so we're aware, want that in the open.
So Madam Chair, are you gonna participate?
I'm gonna, yes, I did
It-
some back and forth with the city on this since I have no invested interest.
Yeah,
It just let everybody know.
Yeah, and
so it doesn't come
I'm
back.
perfectly fine with that. I just wanted clarity to
Okay.
make sure that you could weigh in because, yeah, you don't have that vested interest and you can remain unbiased.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, like, will you present the?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As stated, I am Michael Alvarez. I'm a planner with the Community Development Department. Tonight is the Board of Adjustment hearing for March 7th, 2023. I'm just going to go ahead and read the variance review criteria. This will apply to both of the variances that are being applied for tonight. It's one item, 2 variances. So pursuant to section 1155C of City Code, to approve a requested variance for a new building or portion thereof, the Board of Adjustment shall consider the following standards and find as follows. 1, the variance will not create a significant risk to the public health, safety, or general welfare. The variance will not significantly reduce or impair the peaceful use of existing property or improvements in the vicinity and the zoning district in which the subject property is located. And 3, strict compliance with the provisions of this title would create unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty. In evaluating the standards in C, the Board of Adjustment may consider the following factors. Special conditions and circumstances that are unique to the applicant's site, including the size of the property, unusual or extreme topography, or unusual shape of the property, the height, location, or dimensions of existing structures located on the site or in the vicinity of the site, whether there is a prevalence of nonconformities in the vicinity of the site that are similar to the variance requested, the subsequent imposition of zoning restrictions creating nonconforming lots or parcels and the governmental actions beyond the applicant's control, whether a literal interpretation of the provisions of this title would deprive the property owner of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties similarly situated in the same district under the terms of this title, the extent to which the hardship or difficulty results from the actions of the applicant, whether granting the variance requested will confer an unreasonable special privilege to the subject property that is not available to other properties similarly located in the same zoning district. Section 1155F of City Code states the following. The Board of Adjustment may impose conditions to minimize adverse impacts that the variance may have on the public health, safety, or general welfare. Any approval that includes conditions is subject to the terms of the conditions. Conditions stated in the approval may include, but are not limited to, a time period in which the proposed structure shall be completed and other conditions necessary to mitigate adverse effects from the variance. It is the recommendation of the city attorney's office that staff does not make a recommendation to approve or deny a variance. Montana law states the Board of Adjustment has authority to consider upon appeal in specific cases where variance from the terms of the ordinance as will not be contrary to the public interest, where owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance will result in unnecessary hardship, so that the spirit of the ordinance shall be observed and substantial justice done. So we do have a request that a condition be placed if you make a motion to approve the variance, that a building permit be obtained within 1 year. And our first and only item tonight is 40 East Lindale Street. And this is consideration of a variance from section 1197A3 to decrease the minimum percentage of lot coverage from 50% to 35%, and a variance from section 1197B1 to increase the maximum lot line setback for the front lot, the maximum front lot line setback from 0 feet to 10 feet. And this is for a property with the legal description of lots 1 to 6 of block 53 of the Central Addition number 3 to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, together with the east 1/2 of vacated and closed Jackson Street adjacent to the lot. The reason for this variance is to construct a hotel where public utilities are lined along East Lindale Avenue and Memorial Drive, as well as accommodate visitors in the turning movements of emergency services. I will say their hotel may only encompass 1 to 5. Their lease for those lots. Lot 6 is, as I understand, is where that the north-south access between Memorial Drive and East Lindale is going to be. I'm not entirely sure until I see the amended plat whether or not that's just going to be an easement or whether or not it is going to be included here. But the variances, I don't know that that will affect the variances at all. It's where the drive is lot 6, as I understand it. So the property location is located next to the Starbucks there and across from the United Way on East Lindale Avenue, south of Memorial Park. And it is just the eastern half of that lot will be their parcel. I'm sorry, western. Thank you. So a demolition permit was issued in July of last year for the motel that previously occupied the site. The city had worked with the property owner in helping to raise some funds for mitigation of the asbestos on that site. The other thing that's going on with this is the submitted design will require 2 additional administrative adjustments. And the ruling memo, this is supposed to read 0308. It's supposed to be released the day after this meeting. So that was my bad. Just looking at a calendar wrong, but 0308. So we were supposed to rule on this. It was supposed to be signposted for the 3 weeks since we got out the legal ad. And then we can offer our ruling on it. So it'll be the following day. And that will be an adjustment from section 1197D1 to decrease the required ground floor primary street frontage transparency from 50% to 47%. An adjustment from section 1197D2 to decrease the minimum number of entrances along the primary frontage from the requirement of 1 to 0. So I have updated the site plan. The site plan that you have in front of you currently, I just received late this afternoon, so I just printed it out for you. The site plan that you have up on your screens is the one that went out with your packet. The differences there, just some of the things that the architect could do to accommodate some of the turning movements requested by the fire marshal in his comment that went out with your packets. And that's moving north some of the parking spots on the eastern parking lot, making that front building, it would still need to be set back from those power lines in the front, but making it a little bit slimmer to accommodate a few more feet of travel through there. The original plat. The applicant identified power lines on Memorial Drive and on East Lindale Avenue as barriers to fully occupying the site as per the city code, or moving that front building too close to East Lindale Avenue. Most of the buildings in the area were not built in accordance with downtown zoning regulations. The downtown is fairly new. There is a prevalence of buildings in the area that either have what would be considered a nonconformity by the downtown standards, a parking lot along their frontage, or not at a zero lot line setback, or not meeting the 50% lot coverage. It's fairly common in this stretch of East Lindale Avenue. These variances serve two primary purposes. One is to allow room for emergency services to move through the property. It being dangerous to stage fire trucks and ambulances on East Lindale. So those vehicles are accommodated in the parking lot, and that is part of the ask for a reduction in the lot coverage percentage, is to allow for a large enough through area. And the exact layout and movements haven't been finalized. The architect is still working with the city staff, but would still need the variance in order to accommodate the space needed for the turning movement. And the other one is to move the front of the building away from the power lines on East Lindale and the heavy traffic there. We have not received any public comment regarding the proposed variance.
Thank you. Does the board have questions?
Michael, quick question, just more my curiosity. One of the things the city will approve in that memo tomorrow talks about the primary access.
Mhm.
What street is the primary, does city consider the primary access?
The primary would be East Lindale Avenue. So they basically don't want a front door that opens right out onto the busy highway. They'd like to put it over on the side. There's also some strong prevailing winds there that they're looking to mitigate.
Is there any additional questions?
No.
The applicant want to address the board?
We're hopeful these arguments are compelling and helping you agree that this design would be best suited for our outcomes.
Any questions for the applicant? Any public comment? Anybody online?
Madam Chair, at this moment, I don't have any public, I don't see any hands raised, and I have no public comment online.
Thank you. All right, I'll open up for board discussion. I don't have much. There's a lot of information in the packet. It seems very straightforward. I'd hate to argue with the fire marshal on anything, but especially about his turning radiuses, so and the utilities down the side, I think it presents itself that they're asking for services that make sense.
I would agree that the packet was well put together and addresses a lot of concerns this board has.
Yeah, it's a great development for the site, I believe, and specific to the two variance requests. We heard a previous variance for actually a building that's more downtown than this one, and gave variance for some things that just didn't make sense for this site. And in particular here, I wouldn't even call this downtown. We have a main thoroughfare going right through the front of the building. So if you try to put a building at a zero lot line and MDT comes down with their snowplow at 30 miles an hour, you have an absolute mess. So there's some things that just don't work with the downtown zoning at this location. And definitely a hardship that to make it functionable, where I'm definitely comfortable with the variances requested.
Yeah, I'd like to refer to number 5, about the literal interpretation of the provisions title will deprive the property owner commonly enjoyed by other properties. You can see quite obviously that the rest of the properties thrive because they're in the one block out of the downtown district. This is an excellent project. Much nicer than the previous one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe that this project not only adds to the vitality of Helena, it could also to strengthen our economy, and I appreciate the applicants bringing this forward.
Any more discussion? If not, would somebody like to put it forward for a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll take a stab. I would make a motion to approve a variance from section 1197A3 to decrease the minimum percentage of lot coverage from 50% to 35% for a property with a legal description of lots 1 through 6 of block 53 of the Central Edition, number 3 to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, together with the east one half of vacated and closed Jackson Street adjacent to lot, and parentheses reference to a resolution 92848 in M book 2 of records page 5059, and quit claim deed recorded in M book 2 of records page 6221, and would stipulate that a building permit would be issued within 1 year.
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay. Variance number 2.
I'd like to make, Madam Chair, I'd like to move to approve a variance from section 11-9-7-B1 to increase the maximum lot line setback from 0 to 10 feet for a property with a legal description of lots 1 to 6 of block 53 of Central Edition number 3 to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, together with the east one half of vacated and closed Jackson Street adjacent to lot reference resolution 9248 in M book 2 of records page 5059 and quitclaim deed recorded in M book 2 of records page 6221.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Comments? If not, then all who approve. Right. Okay, motion to approve, all in favor, sorry. Get my wording right. All in
Aye.
favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There is none. Motion passes. Okay. So that was our public hearing. I don't see anything for old business. And Bert, you have something
I have,
for new business?
Bert, you go first, and I have just one thing I'll quiz him on.
well, go ahead.
The only thing, and I gave Michael a heads up, but just, we're gonna have sign variances come back before, so I'm gonna keep pushing the city on that, their revision to their sign ordinance. And so I'm just looking for an update to see when we might see some movement and potential revision on that.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
well, if I may, reply.
yes.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we've gotten the sign permit stuff that we've had previously gotten off to the city attorneys that had previously been seen by city commission. We've taken that stuff back and we'll be moving it to a zoning commission work session. I believe before their April, I think it's April 11th meeting is our intention to workshop there, and then we'll see how the workshop goes. So it's being brought back.
Great. Thank you for that update, Michael. Appreciate it.
Do you have an idea on timeline or how that? Can I have the short and long?
The short is I haven't read through that stuff. I don't know what kind of state it's in. It was mostly there to update language around a Supreme Court ruling that's had us be more content neutral. And this is something that, because of the amount of public feedback we'd be looking for, probably I'd say minimum 4 months from April, probably 5. We're gonna want to address the business community on it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Do you have follow-up questions, comments, Byron?
No, thanks.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Madam Chair.
Bert?
From my soapbox. All right, this has been eating at me this is about the 4th year now. And when I first took a seat here on the board, and I inquired as to why there was no flag salute at the beginning of the meetings. I've been board member for different boards for 25 years, and I've never started a board meeting without one. And when I asked the representatives of the city, and I got no answer, just we never did it before. Since we're starting off with a new set of officers and so forth, I'm asking that we include the flag salute as part of our opening area. I've taken this out to some other veterans that I know, and they too have been wondering why. The idea that I served and bled for this flag, and many others have, and we just ignore the tradition. I don't know whether it's just, I'll leave it at that. So I ask that if everybody else is in following what I'm trying to say, Could I get a motion that we include this in our opening ceremony package?
Thank you, Bert. Discussion? I support that.
Yeah, Bert, I'd support it too, and I have the same conclusion as you, as I think it was just, new to this and kind of overlooked and not thought about, but yeah, every other board or quasi governmental agency I've served on, yeah, we started with the
Yeah,
Pledge of
and it
Allegiance,
may
so
have been
I'll
because of the
support
COVID, the online, that it didn't lend itself to it. But now that we're back in session, hopefully we could start new again. So I make a motion if somebody wants a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion stands. We're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance. So we could work that in. Is that how?
We'll add it to the agenda.
Perfect. For next time.
And one more point of order.
Thank you.
I ask that when we vote on the motions that we do as far as zoning and so forth, should be a roll call vote. For all our votes, final votes. Because the first year I was here, there was an appeal made and we lost. We turned somebody down. We had an appeal. We lost because all the back and forth discussions did not bring out these 7 items about. And when you take the final vote and you just say aye, there's nothing that backs it up really. Or if you have a lot of testimony during our discussions, you can refer to your previous testimony. But it should be a roll call. As a suggestion.
Madam Chair, I'll just add, I'm not sure I agree with that, because when you call for the question, point of order, I think it's yes or no. And I think the discussion Bert's talking about would take place in the discussion phase of the motion, meaning we have a motion, we have a second. And then during that discussion phase, if somebody's so inclined, board member, then they can explain their reasoning and logic why they are supporting or not supporting per the 3 statutory requirements that we must look at. Those 7 others are ones we may look at, but there's 3 statutorily that guide our decision. So I think that's the point of when that discussion takes place, not during the call for the question.
Further discussion? Andy, Tim, what do you guys think?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the question at hand, in our city commission meetings, we do a roll call vote. But then, like Byron had stated, if it's a yes or no, and if it's unanimous, I guess it's implied, but I'm okay with a roll call vote. But again, I'm not the expert on that.
I'm not an expert on that either. I could go either way. So I would lend to going with no roll call, but okay, going either way.
I propose this. How about we try having more discussion if we're going to oppose, or the reasons, and being clear on the conversation before we vote. There's only 5 of us, so it's not that there's easy to single a person out. And if it becomes messy and we continue running into problems, then we can do the roll call. So can we try it? And I know that I'm what's the word?
Unsure.
I'm untried, that I can work on speaking up more myself about how I feel about each of those. If we need to be clear on why we don't or do support a motion.
Right, and during our discussions, we should refer to these 7 items. Not all of them, but just the one that pertains to why you're voting. Because in a civil hearing, at the judicial hearing, they'll play back the discussions. But sometimes the discussions get lost if they're just talking about it and not referring to why specifically. So at the end, that's why I have always had it, that they call out a roll call and then you either initiate why you're doing it or refer back to your previous testimony.
Keep the idea, the concept there, and if we need to, we can vote on it, but is that work for now?
Madam Chair. If you'd like, city staff would be happy to work with you. If you want better prompts or anything like that, to link a discussion to a particular piece of language that, like, for your reasoning. I don't have it up, but if you'd like us to prompt one of a specific criteria is to make sure that a specific criteria is referenced by each board member before a vote,
Absolutely.
crafting something like
The
that.
more prompts, the better.
Okay.
Right. Any additional new items to talk about?
Yeah, and just to close that other one, I agree with wholeheartedly with what Bert's saying. It's just where that takes place was my only concern.
Okay.
So thank you. That's a great point, Bert, and I appreciate that.
More clarity for people to follow it later is definitely a good thing. Yep. All right, well, a motion to adjourn. Or do we, right, we have to do a motion to adjourn.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, do you want to call for just one final public comment? I think
We
that
have
was
a-
on the agenda.
Oh,
but,
yes, is there any more? Thanks.
At this time, I see no hands raised and I've received no public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?